all the treasure hunters out there. For 20 years of my life, I was a pest control technician. I started this when I was 35, just off of a job on the employment board, and I went for an interview and they said, have you had many jobs in your life and what have you done? I said, I've had everything. I've done anything you can imagine. Anything from a butcher to a chef to a farm worker to a trades assistant. I've helped build big houses. I said I'd done everything. And the guy said, you're perfect for the job, you're employed. So I got this job, and we work on a lot of old buildings, a lot of old houses in the city. And back in the 1800s, they would build them by putting a stone foundation with a stonemason, and on the internal areas of the house, they would have what they'd call brick dwarf walls. So to access underneath here is a problem because termites would attack these houses. They usually had poor ventilation, so they were very attractive to termites. So basically what I would have to do in part of my job is cut a hole in the floor with a saw. You've got to make it look neat in all situations. I've cut holes through ceramic floors, Baltic pine floors, secret nailed floors. I even had to cut a hole in the floor in a room that the Queen of England went and had morning tea in it because the plaque there said. Right? I even cut a hole in the floor, and under that floor I found a ship's mast used to support the floor. Right? I've seen everything in the old construction, right? And for a collector, it was the most supreme job you could ever get, because in the 1800s everyone just threw everything under the floor. See, what you'd have to do is cut a hole in a certain way so you could put it back neatly. We would even have to work with really highly polished floors in all sorts of places, churches, restaurants, cafes. I've worked everywhere. And anyway, you'd go down this hole and you'd take a sledgehammer, you'd be all suited up with a mask, and you'd have to knock a hole in that brick wall under the floor and climb through. I've done a room that had 6 walls that I had to smash through with a sledgehammer. You'd have to stagger them, not to do any damage into the building. And what the idea was, you'd get in there and you'd spray all the soil with a pesticide, which was, when I did it, was a lot safer than the earlier pesticides, and that would protect the soil from termites. But when you climbed under there, it was just full of treasure, because everyone in the 1800s threw everything under the floor, and it was the perfect job. I collected that much stuff. It was just absolutely amazing. But I can tell you a real true story. I went to a house built in the 1860s, and the termites had damaged the floor quite extensively in this room. So I used the saw and I cut a hole, and I said to the guy, I said, you've got a huge termite nest that's under your floor to the height of the floor. I can't do anything with it much other than we have to take the whole floor out. And then he said, I've got a mate that's he was a chippy. We call them chippies. They're actually carpenters. I'll ring him up and see if he can come around. And this guy come around and he ripped the whole floor out the room. And in the middle of this floor, there was this oval shape. All right, this is a true story. And we were digging around it, because what we had to do is get all this termite nest out so I could spray the floor, and then he'd build a completely new floor in there. And I was digging through it, and out come a human skull, right? It was, I would say, a child.